5 years ago, this was me. I was broken and lost. I chased goals: clean, bigger, and stronger body, business, purpose. But every time I tried, after a few days, I lost. Every time I slipped. Then I found one simple idea. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't hype, it was atomic. This idea rewrote everything for me: my mornings, my habits, my results. And because it changed me so deeply, I am not sharing just a summary with you. I am sharing how this golden book, Atomic Habits, can totally change your life. So stay with me, because your life can be changed too. If you improve yourself 1% every day, at the end of the year, you'll be 37 times better. And think about this. It is easier to improve yourself 1% every day for a whole year than to try super hard for 3 days and then quit. There is one example in the book that blew my mind. Imagine a plane leaving Los Angeles and heading to New York. If the pilot adjusts the nose of the plane by just 3.5 degrees south, just a few centimeters at takeoff, the passengers won't even notice the difference. But stay on the new course long enough, and instead of landing in New York, you'll end up in Washington, D.C., more than 300 miles away. That's how habits work. Tiny changes in your daily direction, the way you think, the way you act, might seem invisible today, but over months and years, they change your entire destination. Habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. When I first read that, it hit me, because I always thought that success had to be massive, huge, visible for others. But progress is actually slow, it's boring, it's dull, until it isn't. One small win today and one better choice tomorrow, and suddenly, after a period of 1 year, you'll wake up in a completely different life. If you want better results, focus on systems, not goals. Goals are the outcomes we want, and systems are the processes that lead us there. So when you shift your perspective from goals to the processes, success becomes automatic. Basically, your goal is your what. What do you want to achieve? And the process is how. How will you achieve this goal? And for years, I was setting goals. I wanted a better physique, a better purpose, more money. Every time I tried and I focused on the goal, I failed, because I had no system. And of course, goals are important because they give you direction in which you want to pursue your goals. But system is also crucial. System is what keeps you going when your motivation fades. Focus on who you want to be rather than what do you want to achieve. When a habit comes from who we are far more motivated to get what we want. Habits aren't about motivation. Of course, motivation can start a habit, but identity is what keeps you repeat this habit. Think about it. If you believe you are an athlete, your mind will look for reasons to train. If you genuinely believe you are a reader, you will feel incomplete without reading a book once a day. Identity drives consistency, but this belief needs to be genuine, honest, and true. So, if identity is so important, how can we actually develop the identity we want? The book says, every action is a vote for the person you want to become. Change your identity by doing the habits that identity would do. So, when you act like the person you want to be, you slowly become that person. And that's how identity and habits build each other. It is a cycle, a loop. The 4 laws of behavior change: cue, craving, response, and reward. Every habit runs on the same loop: cue, craving, response, and reward. You see a cue, then you feel a craving, perform a response, and eventually get a reward. If the reward feels good now, your brain will want to repeat it. For me, the most important lesson from this loop was actually this. After every workout, I felt that pump. I felt strength, energy. After finishing the hard work, I felt the satisfaction. And my brain said to me, "Whoa, this is great feeling. You have to do this again later." That's not motivation. That's neurology. Your brain actually remembers what was pleasure, what gave you pleasure. If you are doing something which eventually gives you pleasure, this is a sign for your brain to keep doing this action for this specific reward that you felt. For example, I've been stretching for every night for almost a year now. That's quite a long time. And I was doing this about 10 minutes before going to bed. And after that 10 minutes stretch, I feel this calmness. I'm ready to go to sleep. And because this reward was so pleasurable to me, my brain learned itself that now it just craves to stretch before going to bed. It is now a huge pleasure for me, and magically my brain actually reminds me to stretch. And this is also how habits can become a routine. Implementation intention. So there is a powerful technique called implementation intention, and it says, I will do the behavior at a specific time in a specific place. And this is important because exact time and the place are the most powerful triggers for a habit. For example, if you want to build a habit of meditation, your intention implementation will look like, I will meditate at 7:30 a.m. in my bedroom for 15 minutes before going to my work. And then the time comes, you are in the correct place, and I guarantee to you, your mind will recall to you that you have to meditate for 15 minutes. Habit stacking. There is another very powerful technique called habit stacking, and it states after current habit, I will do the new habit. Example, after my morning coffee, I will read one page of a book. It works because your brain connects new habits to the old ones. It builds chains, and soon routines becomes automatic. As a humans, if we do the behavior we enjoy and then quickly move to the behavior we want to do, brain actually learns and will remember about it. Every time you will drink coffee, you will then feel the urge to meditate for 15 minutes. You will remember about it. I used habit stacking to build my evening routine. I already had a habit of journaling before going to bed. And I added also stretching, which I told you earlier, that I want to stretch. And somehow it just clicked. I don't know, my brain remembered that I had to do this every time after journaling. I also used it to develop a powerful morning routine, which I will tell you later about it. The biggest enemy isn't failure, it's boredom. Pros show up when it's not exciting. At first, new habits feel exciting. It is novelty, progress, pride. But then comes the 10th time, 20th, 30th, and it just becomes boring. And this is the place where most people quit. This boredom is actually a true enemy. When habits becomes boring, the chance of us resigning from doing this habit goes higher and higher. And the habit won't form if you will not do it for an extended period of time, for exact long period of time. Habits are built through repetition, not emotion. So book suggests actually fall in love with the reps, not the rush. Now, for me, these concepts from the book were actually the most valuable. But all of them sounds great in theory. But theory alone isn't enough. The real power of Atomic Habits begins when you start applying the wisdom from it in real situations with real effort. So let me show you how I use these ideas to change my life, and so you can also change your life. For me, it all started with waking up earlier. Back in high school, mornings for me felt like absolute chaos. I was always rushing, tired, and I never felt ready to go out of my home. So I took a crazy decision to wake up 3 hours before leaving my home. Not to torture myself, but actually to gain time when no one disturbs me and the time I could spend on improving my life. That 3 hours became the foundation for every other habit. I used implementation intention. I will wake up at 5 a.m. in my room, drink water, and go outside to catch sunlight. Then I added habit stacking. After taking the sunlight, I'll exercise for 45 minutes. After exercising, I'll take a cold shower. After a cold shower, I'll drink coffee and read 10 pages of a book. At first, it was difficult. It was very difficult. But then, through repetition, it became a flow. One action leading to another, almost like a machine. And that's when I realized it isn't about motivation. It is about structure and identity. I stopped saying, I want to get up early. I started saying, I am the person who values mornings. And that single shift changed everything. Early mornings gave me discipline, gave me courage and peace. My friends actually called me crazy, but I felt incredible, and I knew that this is what I really want. Mornings actually built my systems, which all of my day now stands upon: learning and focus. Once my morning were solid, I moved to that same discipline to learning. I had a hard time focusing. I was a typical teenager, you know. I was addicted to all the focus destroying behaviors. And for all of my high school, I just consider myself as an average student, I would say. Average. I was totally average. Until the fifth year of high school came. Where I live in, the fifth year is the last year, and at the end of this year, you have to pass the maturity exam, Matura exam. And the knowledge required to pass this exam is actually massive. It is huge. You need to learn a lot of the literature, math, and also know a foreign language. And besides that, you also choose a discipline, a field in science, which you have to know exactly because this is extended version of the Matura exam. And for the previous 4 years, I completely ignored this stuff. It was just, I thought this is useless for me. But the beginning of the fifth grade crushed me. It started to get serious, and I knew I had to do something with it. So I started small. Every day, I've spent 30 minutes of focused study after school, learning especially math and literature, which was tough for me. I did it in the same time and in the same place, without any distractions. No phone, no noise, just me, my notes, and a playlist on Spotify I called Lifesavers. I used implementation intention again in my calendar and in my notebook. I will study at 6 p.m. at my desk for 30 minutes. My environment became a cue for me to learn. Desk organized, headphones ready, and also the computer with the books ready. Music went on, and brain locked in. Let's learn. But the biggest change actually came when I shifted my identity. I stopped saying, I hate to learn, but I have to. I started saying, I am the kind of person who loves learning and is becoming great at doing it. And this changed completely everything. From learning only 30 minutes a day, maximum period, I shifted to almost 4 hours, block of 4 hours. This was a huge improvement for me. And eventually, learning became fun. This helped me to pass the Matura exam, not like in the best higher possible grades, but with great results. Actually, I tell you, it was like 90% for 2 exams, and one was 70%. So when you start to view yourself as the best student, all your body and mind will drive you to actually become that kind of person. Then focus and results come naturally. Training and nutrition. At the beginning, you saw the photo of me. This photo of me being weak, without muscle, with huge amount of acne, and with depression. And this is where Atomic Habits actually gave me the biggest change in my life. Training isn't just about building muscle. It is about building consistency and long-term discipline. My system for training was simple. I had a few dumbbells, I had a bar, and some weights, and it was enough. I used implementation intention to give it structure. Habit stacking made it automatic. Bam! Wake up, sunlight, workout, cold shower, and then coffee. At first, working out was hard, but once I felt the reward every time I worked out, the pump, the strength, and a lot of energy throughout the day, my brain started to love it. The reward became my motivation. But as I told you previously, I had another problem. Something far more personal. It was my terrible acne, not just on my face, but also on my whole body. This acne destroyed my confidence. I hated every day to look into the mirror. And I tried actually everything to get rid of it. Creams, treatments, antibiotics, and nothing worked. And it didn't work, I understand now, because I was trying to fix not the cause, but the symptom. Then, by scrolling on YouTube, I found an interesting person called Brian Johnson. And Brian is like the crazy man who, based on his experiences and all his resources, he actually is trying to create the most optimal and healthy version of himself by diet, by exercising, and also by his sleeping recover. And I started to copy him. I started fasting, eating clean, and I went into the keto diet without any sugar, and I started to understand how my body actually functions. And slowly, everything started to change. My skin started to heal, and my mental health became much more better. And that's when I realized food isn't just a fuel, sleep isn't just a shutdown, and exercising isn't just wasting an energy. They are the information for your body, instructions to how it should function. Once I optimized my sleep, my diet, and my exercising, my workouts became sharper, my acne disappeared, and my happiness went through the roof. These were small improvements, but being implemented over time, they gave me huge results. If there is actually one thing I hope you take from this video, it is that change is possible in every situation. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need motivation every day. You just need a system and a reason to start. I'm not sharing my story because I want to pride myself or show how much I've changed. I'm sharing it because I know how it feels to be stuck in your life and how powerful it is when you finally overcome your problems and start to seeing the results. So if my story helps even one of you, I will be totally happy and I would feel that my work have been valuable. Stay consistent even when it hurts. One day you will look back at your life and you will realize how far you have come.